So this is a video that will give you examples from homework 11, solving rational equations and applications. So first of all, we have our rational expressions, and so we need to find the least common denominator. Well, we have a denominator of p, and then I have a denominator of p plus 3. So if I multiply those together, I now have my least common denominator. My excluded values, I take any denominator that has a variable in it and set it equal to 0. So I have one denominator that is a variable, so it cannot be, p cannot be 0. Then I have another denominator that has a variable in it. So I set p plus 3 equal to 0 and solve. And so p cannot be 0 and it cannot be negative 3. So now we go back over here and set up our least common denominator, just like we did in class on homework 10. So I have p times p plus 3 over 1. It's going to multiply times the first term I have there, which is 16 over p. Then my plus sign. My greatest common factor again, my least common denominator, p times p plus 3 over 1 times my second term. So 9p minus 5 over p plus 3. I have my equal sign. And then because my last term here is a 9, I'm just going to write p times p plus 3, but then all of that does get multiplied times the 9. So once I have my equations set up with the least common denominators in there, then I'm ready to start canceling. So here there's a plain p on top, a plain p on bottom. So that leaves me with 16 times p plus 3 plus, and then here I have p plus 3 on top, p plus 3 on bottom. So here is p times 9p minus 5 equals, and then I have this p times that 9, so I'm going to go ahead and write 9 times p on the outside, and then p plus 3. And once I have all of those, I need to start simplifying by distributing. So 16 times p gives me 16p. 16 times 3 is plus 48. Plus p times 9p is 9p squared. 9p times negative 5. Negative 5p equals 9p times p. 9p squared. 9p times 3 is plus 27p. Then I start seeing if I have like terms on the same side of the equal sign that I can put together. So I'm going to start with my 9p squared and write it first just because it has the largest exponent. And then I have this 16p minus 5p, and that gives me plus 11p. And then I have my 48, so plus 48. And then on this side, I can't combine those, so I just rewrite 9p squared plus 27p. And now I can start putting all of my letters on one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 9p squared. And when I do that, it actually cancels off both sides. And so I'm going to write that answer right here. Hopefully I have some room. So I've got 11p plus 48 equals 27p. And then I need the letters to be on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 11p on both sides. So now I have 48 equals 16p. And I'm going to divide by 16 because 16 is what's in front of the p, even though it's on the other side of the equal sign. So then p equals 3. And when I look back to my excluded values were 0 and -3. So +3 does work. So my solution is +3. Okay, so this one's a little different. I have x minus 9 as one of my denominators, x plus 9 is one of my denominators, and x squared minus 81. Well, x squared minus 81 can be factored. So underneath this, x squared minus 81 is a difference of perfect squares. So I can take the square root of x squared, which is x. One of my parentheses will be plus, one will be minus, and the square root of 81 is 9. And so x minus 9 will go into both of those. X plus 9 will go into both of those. And x plus 9 times x minus 9 will go into both of those. So my least common denominator is x plus 9 times x minus 9, or x minus 9 times x plus 9. It doesn't matter the order. I already have the excluded values over here. X cannot be 9 and x cannot be -9. So now I'm ready to set up my equation with my least common denominators. So I'm going to take x plus 9 times x minus 9 over 1. Multiply it times that first term of 1 over x minus 9. Then I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of it set up. Okay, so I have it all set up. My red terms are my least common denominators, and so now I'm ready to cancel. So x minus 9 on top and x minus 9 on bottom leaves me with x plus 9. And then I have plus. And then x plus 9 on top, x plus 9 on bottom. So plus x minus 9 equals. And then I left this x plus 9 times x minus 9 when I factored that so that I can see that the x plus 9 cancel and x minus 9 cancel. So it leaves me with 18. And then I put together like terms. 1x plus 1x is 2x. 9 minus 9 is nothing, so I just leave that. And then divide by 2, x equals 9. And if you look back at our excluded values, one of our excluded values was 9, so that means that this one has no solution. So on number 3, before I can find my least common denominator, I'm going to have to factor this r squared plus 2r minus 15. Well, I'm going to check to see if maybe if I factored it, it would factor into the r plus 5 and the r minus 3 that I already have here. Well, let's think about this. R times r gives me r squared. R times -3 is -3r, and then plus 5r. That gives me that plus 2r. And then 5 times negative 3 gives me that negative 15. So that does factor. So that also means that my least common denominator is r plus 5 times r minus 3. To find my excluded values, I'm going to take my denominator with a variable, solve it for the variable. So r cannot be negative 5. I'm going to take the other one, and r cannot equal 3. So now I'm ready to set up my equation. So now I have my least common denominators in my equation, getting ready to multiply them. So now I can do my canceling. R plus 5 on top, r plus 5 on bottom, r minus 3 on top, r minus 3 on bottom, leaves me with 3r minus 3 plus, and then I have r plus 5 on top, r plus 5 on bottom. So now I'm left with 2 times r minus 3 equals, then r minus 3 on top, r minus 3 on bottom. I'm left with 3 times r plus 5. And now I begin the process to solve for r. So I need to do the distributing here. So 2 times r and 2 times negative 3, and then 3 times r, 3 times 5. So on the left side of my equal sign, I have some terms that are alike that will combine. So 3r plus 2r gives me 5r. Negative 3 minus 6 gives me negative 9 equals 3r plus 15. Then I want to isolate r, so I'm going to subtract 3r from both sides of the equal sign. So now I'll have 2r minus 9 equals 15. And because I don't have enough room, I'm going to finish it up here. So I'm going to rewrite the 2r minus 9 equals 15. Add 9 to both sides of the equal sign. 2r equals 24. Divide by 2, r equals 12. My excluded values were negative 5 and positive 3. So 12 is a solution. On number 4, x plus 9 is factored, and so is x minus 5. So we have to multiply those together to get our least common denominator. So x plus 9 times x minus 5. To get our excluded values, we'll take the x plus 9, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. And then we will also do that with the x minus 5. So x cannot equal positive 5. So then we will set up our least common denominators. Okay, now we're ready to begin canceling. So x plus 9 on top, x plus 9 on bottom, leaves me with 5 times x minus 5 equals, and I've got x minus 5 on top, x minus 5 on bottom, so equals 3 times x plus 9. We will distribute. Okay, then I'm going to get my x's on one side of the equal sign. Get my numbers on the other side of the equal sign. So my solution is 26. My excluded values were -9 and 5, so I can use 26 as a solution. So on number 5, I need to factor this 2x squared minus 9x plus 10, and hopefully it will factor into this x minus 2 and 2x minus 5. So let's see. X times 2x gives us 2x squared, so that's good. And then x, so negative 5x minus 4x gives me that negative 9x. And then negative 2 times negative 5 is that positive 10. So that's a good thing. And that means we're also going to use this as our least common denominator. And then our excluded values, we will write x minus 2 equals 0. Solve that for x. So one of our excluded values is negative 2. And then we're going to put 2x minus 5 equals 0. Solve this for x. So another excluded value is going to be 5 over 2. So then we will set up our equation with our least common denominators. Okay, now that I have everything set up, I'm ready to cancel. So I have x minus 2 on top and bottom, 2x minus 5 on top and bottom. So I'm left with x squared minus 6. And then I have x minus 2 on top, x minus 2 on bottom. So now I have negative 2 times 2x minus 5 equals, and then 2x minus 5 on top, 2x minus 5 on bottom. So now I have negative 4 times x minus 2. So x squared minus 6, and now I've got negative 2 times 2x. So then my negative 2 times negative 5 is that positive 10 equals negative 4 times x and negative 4 times negative 2. Then I need to put like terms together. So x squared minus 4x. And then I've got negative 6 plus 10 gives me plus 4 equals negative 4x plus 8. Because I have a squared term, I need to get my equation equal to 0. So I'm going to add 4x and subtract 8 on both sides of the equal sign. And that is going to leave me with x squared minus 4 equals 0. And then x squared equals positive 4. When you take the square root of x squared, you get x. And the square root of 4 is positive 2 and negative 2. So then I look back up into my excluded values, and one of my excluded values is negative 2. So my only solution on this one is a positive 2. Okay, so here I factored my x squared minus 144, and it does factor into x plus 12, x minus 12. So because all of the denominators will go into the x squared, x plus 12, x minus 12. That's my least common denominator. I came over here and put each of my denominators equal to 0, and I got an excluded value of negative 12 and positive 12. So then now we're going to set up the equation. Okay, now that I have my equation set up with my least common denominators, I'm ready to do my canceling. So x minus 12 on top, x minus 12 on bottom. So I have 3 times x plus 12. And then here I have the x plus 12 on top and bottom, x minus 12 on top and bottom. So I have this minus 4x. And then here, x plus 12 on top, x plus 12 on bottom. So I have 5 times x minus 12. So 3x plus 36 minus 4x equals 5x minus 60. So on this side, I have 3x minus 4x. That gives me negative 1x plus 36 equals 5x minus 60. So then I need to get the x's on one side of the equal sign. Okay, so that gives me x equals 16, and my excluded values were negative 12 and positive 12, so I can have 16 as my solution. Okay, number 7 is our first word problem. In 2005, 13.8 out of every 50 employees were women. If there are 48,656 total company employees, estimate the number of women. Well, they're asking to find the number of women, so let x equal the number of women. So we are going to set up an equation with those numbers. So 13.8 out of 50 women, or 50 employees are women. So that equals how many women out of 48,646. And then we can solve this by cross multiplying. So if you remember cross multiplying, it's just taking the top of one fraction times the bottom of the other one. So 50 times x gives me 50x. And then the other side is taking the top of the other fraction times the bottom of the other fraction. So my 13.8 times 48,646 is, so it's 671,314.8. And then we divide by 50. So X is going to give us 13,426. And then I got 0.296. And the directions want us to just have a whole number. So 13,426. Okay, this problem's a little more complicated. Maddie Evans drove 200 miles in the same amount of time it took the turbo propeller plane to travel 1,000 miles. The speed of the plane was 160 miles per hour faster than the speed of the car. Find the speed of the plane. Well, that's what X is going to be. It is going to be speed of the plane. So our equation is going to be the amount of miles, so 200 miles, and she drove 200 miles, and we don't know the speed of the plane, but we do know that her speed was 160 miles less than. So we're going to say her speed is the speed of the plane, X minus 160. And that's going to equal the number of miles the plane traveled, and we don't know its speed. So then we can, we can cross multiply. So again, I'm going to take one of the numbers on top times the numbers on bottom of the other fraction. So 1,000 times X minus 160. And then that's going to equal the top of the other fraction times the bottom of the other fraction. So equals 200X. So let's simplify that out. 1,000 times X, 1,000X. 1,000 times negative 160 is negative 160,000 equals 200X. And so I want the X's on one side, so I'm going to go ahead and minus 1,000X to both sides of the equal sign. So I have negative 160,000 equals negative 800X. I'm going to divide by 800 on both sides of the equal sign. And so I'm going to end up with X equals 200 miles per hour. So that means that the plane was going 200 miles an hour. So she obviously was going 40 miles an hour in her car. So number 9 is what we call a work problem. And we have this formula that we're going to use. So a local dairy has 3 machines to fill half-gallon milk cartons. The machines can fill the daily quota in 6 hours, 7 hours, and 9.5 hours respectively. Find how long it takes to fill the daily quota if all 3 machines are running. So what we need to know is really number of hours it would take for the machines to work together. So as you can see, our formula here, we're going to take 1 over, one of the individual times was 6 hours, plus 1 over another one of the individual hours or times was 7 hours, plus 1 over, another one of them was 9.5 hours, equals 1 over, and then the time together, well, that's what we didn't know, so that's our x. So now we need to find our least common denominator. And especially since we have a fraction, or a decimal here, it's easiest just to multiply all those together. So we're going to multiply 6 times 7 times 9.5. And so my least common denominator is going to be 399x. So now I'm going to find, just like I did in my other problems. So I've got 399x over 1, and I'm going to multiply it times the 1 over 6 plus the 399x over 1 times the 1 over 7 plus 399x over 1 times 1 over 9.5 equals, and then again, 399x over 1 times the 1 over x. And now I'm ready to cancel. So this time I'm going to have to do 399 divided by 6. And that is a decimal, but that's okay. So 66.5x plus, now I'm going to do 399 divided by 7. That gives me 57x plus 399 divided by 9.5 gives me 42x. And then here I get rid of the x on top, x on bottom, so equals 399. So now I'm going to add together my 66.5 plus 57 plus 42. So now I have 165.5x equals 399. I'm going to divide by 165.5. And so x is going to equal 2.41, and I'm asked to round to the nearest hundredth, so that will be my answer.